Good morning, friends, wherever you are. All over the world, I suspect. Thank you so much for joining me for this nice, beautiful Saturday here in Nashville. Things have calmed down. The weather's nice. The dew point and humidity is a little down, and the temperature's down, so that's a good thing. I hope you're having a cup of coffee. Today's coffee mug courtesy of Jerry's Fish Room. Jerry's Fish Room. Check him out on YouTube. Good friend of mine and a moderator here in the channel. So let's see who we have. I always like to take a quick peek at who's in the chat. Some of you get into conversations before the stream even starts. I find that a lot of fun. Hello, Tom, over in one of my favorite parts of the world, Malibu, California. And let's see. We have Trenton W. Trenton W. Good morning to you, my friend. Cat Sailor. Hello, Cat Sailor. Glad you're here. And Elizabeth. Hey, Elizabeth. Elizabeth Wagner, one of my early Patreon founders, a founding member. Let's see here. Z-Zip is here, and Z-Zip in the house. Chris G. Sunder India. Hello, Sunder. Glad you're here. Bob H. is in the house. Hey, Peas and Haps Forever. Good to see you. Joe's here. Joe Provenzano and Daryl Dimer. I hope I'm reading that right. And let's see here. Joshua is here. Mujahid the Magnificent. I always think of a magician when I read that. And let's see. Tim is here, and I won't butcher your last name, but it's a great last name. Definitely sounds from the Netherlands. And let's see. FJ is here. Fishman Marcus. Hey, John Wallace. One of the mods is here. I'm the best moderators on YouTube. Vibes Aquatics is now a moderator. Very loyal fan of the channel. Always has my back, asking people to hit that sub button. Hey, Jerry. Gave you a little plug there. Hey, Denny. Glad you're here, buddy. And Carrie comes in with a super chat. Thank you, Carrie. Very nice of you to do that. Let's see here. Michael Brannon. Hey, Michael. Whips World. Hey, Whips. Heard John talking about how you helped him with that move. That was very cool. Very, very cool. And Vibes comes in with a happy Father's Day. Thank you so much. I am a father of four amazing children. And that's where I'm going to be going. I'm going off to Dublin. My son invited me to visit him, and not something that is in the budget, but he offered to help get us over to Dublin. So we're going to go see him and spend some time there, hop over to the UK and visit England for a few days. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I might pop into a fish store if I see one handy. I'm not taking a lot of equipment or anything else, but the Pro Max, the iPhone has a pretty good camera, so I'll try and get some footage for you from the UK, from Europe, and see what the fish stores are like there, and if I can get away. I mean, of course, the priority is going to be hanging with the family and his fiance, and I'm sure he has a lot of things planned. So, Silver Creek Aquarius, great name, Silver Creek Aquarius. And R. Baglio, I think, did I say hello, R. Baglio? And Gia Aquatics and Pets. And okay, let's go ahead and do the official start. What do you say? Why not go ahead and do that? And that's the marker all of you can use when you watch the replay. Just go to this marker. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to hit that sub button, the bell, and the thumbs up. And I mentioned to somebody that for some reason YouTube had, I don't know why, but they'll remove your notifications arbitrarily. I'm not sure why. They say they don't, but I've had too many people tell me that they went back and checked and their notifications were unchecked. So definitely check to make sure if you have the bell, if you've clicked the bell, that it's remained clicked, because sometimes, I don't know why, it just stops doing that. So quick shout out to my channel sponsor, the Cichlid Shack. If you want some quality fish, plants, not just cichlids, all kinds of fish now. Big Apistos collection, a lot of community fish, great pleco collection, lots of plants, a lot more than I thought when I went to visit the shop. But use a Cichlid, use Shark Attack 10 for 10% off on all products, and Shark Attack 15 if your fish order exceeds $100. That does not include shipping. Shipping, he just passes the cost on to you. He does not make money on the shipping. And also a very big shout out to Patreon members. The list keeps growing. So big shout out to all of you folks. Your support, your ongoing support is very, very helpful and very appreciated. Patreon members, all of the information on how to become a member of the Garage Gang is under the videos, usually listed under the videos. And that's one way to support the channel. You can also use my Amazon link to shop on Amazon. That will also support the channel. Your price at Amazon doesn't go up; it stays the same, but you can, but a percentage will come over to the channel. It's kind of cool. And also visit Teespring if you want to pick up some T-shirts and stuff like that. Come on over to Teespring. We got mugs and T-shirts and stuff like that there, and that also supports the channel. So that's the end of the commercials, but we got to pay the bills. So, all right. Thank you, Jerry, for sharing that link. And today I want to talk to you about something that maybe the title of the video, some people were guessing at the, well, maybe a sump with biohome, or maybe people are trying to guess what I was referring to. And the topic really has to do with what occurred. And some of you watched the video I posted yesterday. I mean, I was right in the middle of a walkthrough and sort of planning my day. Okay, what tanks am I going to work on, and what needs to be done in the fish room, what is urgent, what can wait, what, just a normal morning assessment that I go through when I walk through the fish room. Before I feed the fish, I examine things, check the socks under the sump, make sure they're not overflowing, make sure the temperatures are good, make sure the fish look good. So I shared my morning walkthrough. Well, at the very end of filming that video, I had a complete blackout. And fortunately, very, very fortunately, I had on hand, and it was fully charged, the one of those all-power, one of these guys. It's called an all-powers. I did a video on it. Maybe one of the moderators can share the link for that video. And I think the title is Power Outages Kill Fish, or something like that. I forget. And this unit, it has lights so you can see what you're doing in the dark. Very smart, right? Since it's designed for power outages. And of course, it has a power on-off power button. Tells you how much juice you have, and you can choose to do AC or DC. And I chose, of course, the AC button. And then what happened is I started plugging things in. And let me turn this off. So I started plugging things into the backup, and I noticed massive changes in the amount of predicted backup time based on what I was plugging in. To the credit of the All Powers, I ran that Cichlids pump that runs the sump on the 210 gallon. It ran for 2 hours. I let the fluval just sit there. I let that sit off, but I ran the sump for 2 hours, and I ran one of the Marineland 400 Emperor 400s on this tank, and I believe I ran the Cichlids Shark on one of the tanks. So I ran a power strip into it, and then I plugged a bunch of stuff into it, and it ran strong for 2 to 3 hours. And in that interim, the power came back on. And but what it taught me by plugging in different things into the backup, it just taught me what you can get done with very low wattage. Naturally, I think it's 75 watts is used by that Cichlids pump. It's 2,700 gallons per hour. I mean, it's a real powerful pump. It's a Cichlids 9.0 on the Sump. So that sucks a lot of energy. And boy, you could see the amount of predicted runtime go way down when I plugged it in. Not so much the Marineland. The Marineland didn't use much power. But I'll tell you, if you have some of these, and I know they're not cheap. I know they're not cheap, but if you have some of these, something like this, like a Cichlids, this is that new. It's going to be available in the United States pretty soon. It's the Cichlids Shark Pro, and this is the 500. If you had a few of these laying around and a backup and you ran a power strip in it, this uses 7 watts. 7 watts. The output of that backup is 500 watts. So how many of these could you run? And it would create enough breakup of the surface to keep oxygen in the tanks. Now, that's not going to help you in the area of heating. I mean, heaters are so heavy in wattage. So if you're in a very cold zone and your power goes out, I think the tank's cooling would be a consideration. But for just surface breakup and oxygen, because I think that's what kills fish first, is especially your big fish. Your big fish, unfortunately, will go first. It's been my experience in the event of a drop in oxygen. So even something as simple as a few Shark Pros that you can plug into a power strip and it'll run it for hours and hours. It'll probably run this for 4 or 5 hours. It would run maybe 5 of these would probably run for about 5 hours on that backup unit, that all powers backup unit, and or more. Because I mean, 7 watts is absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, that being said, the tanks that I didn't plug in, the tanks that were not plugged in, they have these units like this. This is made by Aqua, and this is a lithium battery unit that you just simply put an air stone. You just put an air stone on it. This one has 2 outlets. So I have one that runs the sponge in this little 8-gallon, and it also has an air stone in the back corner of this 90-gallon. And so because it's plugged in, when it goes out, when the power goes out, you have 48 hours of surface breakup. So if you were like on a short trip 100 miles away and had to come, this will hold the tank for 40. This will give you enough breakup, surface tension breakup, to oxygenate and not let your bigger fish start to suffer from a lack of oxygen. It plugs in with a simple USB adapter. You're familiar with these USB adapters. Just plugs into that. You can also plug it into your computer. You can plug it into your car. A lot of cars have USB ports, right? So let's say you went to go pick up a fish 2 hours away. You take a bucket. You take one of these. You plug it into the USB output of your car. Drop the air stone in the bucket, and your fish is relatively comfortable on the way home. Not going to suffer any lack of oxygen. So I was very happy. Well, I wasn't happy that we had the power outage, but I was very happy on how everything performed and how at no point did any fish appear to, I mean, there was no stress. None of the fish, I think, suffered at all during the power outage. So the garage was, I mean, it's warm outside. The garage stays warm. Some of you have asked how I control the temperature in this garage. I used very thick insulation pads that you can buy at Home Depot, and I insulated the door of the garage. It was a bit of a tough job. I mean, you have to insert these pads between the frames, and then I used white duct tape to kind of seal them and hold them in place, and they do a very, very good job. The room is still not super insulated. The door is, you can feel that, the walls, it's a garage, so they didn't really spend a lot of money putting in insulation. But there is a bedroom above the garage, so I'm sure there's insulation in the ceiling. And then I have a door behind me that leads to the house, and there's a heater and air conditioning vent right outside that door. So I leave that door open to the house, and that lets cold air come in. And when it's hot outside, and I come in through the side door of the garage, you can really tell the difference, how much cooler it is in the garage than outside. So leaving the door open between the house and the garage is what helps control the temperature in here. Otherwise, I couldn't even sit here and do a live stream. If I didn't have the garage door insulated and the door open between here and the house, this would be probably 90 degrees right now in this room, or hotter, because it just gets pounded, right, by the sun. So that's how this room is able to be controlled. Now, ideally, in an ideal world, two things. In an ideal world, I will add independent, separate heating and air conditioning to this. And for that, I thank all of you who watch my videos, those of you who do super chats, those my Patreon members. That money is going into an account that is earmarked for eventually putting a separate, like a Mitsubishi, air conditioning unit and like some separate type of control for this room. And secondly, I do want to end up investing in, and again, thank you to my Patreon members and everybody else that helps. I want to invest in a power backup for the entire house, because we get storms here. That storm yesterday was not on the forecast, didn't appear in any weather service. It just suddenly, like the sky just exploded, and you really couldn't even see 10 feet in front of you. The rain was so thick. Trash cans were getting blown over. Branches were coming off trees. And then maybe 2 hours, it was gone. It was gone. I mean, it came up like the way you would imagine a tornado or would just sort of show up, and then it was gone. So you can get units that use solar. You can get units that are tapped into your gas line, and that fire up when they detect a power outage, and then you can determine in the installation what in the house you would like to have on the unit, right? So you could keep your air conditioning, your heating and air conditioning. You could keep your refrigerator, a few lights in the house, and of course the fish room could be part of this, of what this unit is designed to power when it gets triggered. So ultimately down the road, I mean, we're looking at maybe between a $3,000 and $5,000 investment in a real true power backup unit, and then also another, I don't know, maybe $1,000 or so for the heating and cooling that I'd like to have done in here, on top of the electrical that I still need to add to the back of the 300 so that I have enough amperage and don't create blackouts in the fish room because I trip fuses because I'm sucking too much energy, right? So anyway, never a dull moment. Never a dull moment, right? So Jerry says that is Florida every day. That's why I don't live in Florida, Jerry. I love Florida, but man, oh man, it gets humid here, but Florida is out of control. So any questions about that? And did I miss a super chat here? Let me see here. I got Carrie. Thank you again, Carrie. Vibes for Happy Father's Day. Thank you so much. Happy Father's Day to you if you're a father too. I'm not sure. Are you a father, Vibes Aquatics? And Whip's World also has 4 kids. 4 is the perfect number. The perfect number is whatever the number is of kids you have. That's your perfect number. That's my conclusion. So I got, hey, Gay Aquatic and Pets, thank you so much for that super chat. I appreciate that. And all right. I appreciate those of you who are helping out. So let me go ahead and open this up to questions. I wanted to keep today. I wanted to talk a little bit about these power options, and certainly running sponges with those sponge filters, or air stones with lithium battery powered pumps. You need to have at least one of those for every tank you have. Having something like an all powers, and I know I've said it before, it's expensive, but I'll tell you, the peace of mind of having one of those. And this is a small unit. This is the smaller unit. And then having real efficient internal filters. I mean, the fact that Shisei uses 7 watts is still unreal to me. And what that tells me is that it's very well engineered, very well built. That's how you can get that kind of performance. You know, it's just really well put together. So let me go ahead and take up some of your comments and questions. And before I do that, I just want to share one thing with you. Tomorrow, or over the next 3 or 4 days, there's going to be a couple of videos. Be on the lookout for them. One of them is a place I visited over in Arizona. It has everything you could possibly imagine related to fish keeping and reptile keeping. If you keep reptiles, you keep fish, saltwater, fresh, brackish, it doesn't matter. You keep frogs, you keep turtles. They have it. They have it. And it is a warehouse the size of like a Home Depot. And I was going crazy in there looking at everything. And they have like, little bottles of Fritz Complete that are this big. And then they have tubs, they're this big, and, anything you could want. So you go crazy in there, but you can't go in there and shop. You and I can't shop in there. And in this video, I give you a walkthrough of that place. You'll see what it's all about. Dream store, not open to the public. Unbelievable what they've got there. You have to be verified as a store owner, and then you can go in there. Then I have what could possibly be, I don't know, there are a couple of them that were just so good. But this store, because of the combination of friendliness, the variety of products and stock of fish, and their prices. The prices were really, really good. Because of that combination, this video, Arizona Local Fish Store Walkthrough video that's coming up, might be the top, or at least tied for the top of the stores I visited that James Largo took me out to see. And you'll see what I mean in that video. The thumbnail just says wow because of this beautiful puffer I ran into, but when you see the selection of fish in that store and the prices are like really, really good. So anyway, watch for those 2 videos. Naturally, the Patreon members, they get kind of an advanced sneak peek, so they've already seen it. So let me take up some of your questions. Hey, by the way, how's the video and the audio? Is it good? Is audio and video good? Give me a quick indication on how we're looking and sounding. I mean, I just take it for granted unless somebody says, "Hey, we can't hear you," but let me know. While you comment on that, I'll have a sip of Joe. All right. It's good. All right. Thank you so much. Audio and video is awesome. Thank you, Vibes. Appreciate that. And okay, John and Zen. Hey, Zen Ginger. Zen Ginger's here. Another moderator. And hey, Zen, if you do I have your email address? I think I do. But I'd like to send you some early links and emails that I send out to moderators. But anyway, remind me if you can. Send me your email address to ben.o.cichlid@gmail.com, and I'll include you in this sort of group email that I send out to moderators. For some reason, I just realized I just haven't been including you in that, and I should. So let me take a look at your questions. Let's see. Now, you saw my comment at the top. This will be my last live stream until after the 4th of July. I get back around the 4th of July. And and then I will commence with live streaming. Robert Egan, thank you so much, Robert. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the advice. You need a 2-ton ductless AC, so like a combo unit. There are people who watch my videos that know a lot more about this stuff than I do, and over the years I've gotten a lot of good advice. On the electrical, I got some great advice on, and certainly I'll get some advice on this. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. Sorry, Paul, but you need a note. I need to have a note for why you're late. Thank you, Zen Ginger. I appreciate that. So, Solar King Ronnie is here, and Henry Bowman and Bruce is here. Let me see if I got some questions. I'm going to scroll back in the chat a little bit and look at your questions. Hey, Caveman Aquatics, happy Father's Day. Are you a father, Caveman Aquatics? If you're still here, if you are, happy Father's Day to you as well. It was a pleasure meeting you at Aquashella, by the way. Let's see here. I am cruising for questions. Cruising for questions. Legion Aquatics. Hey, Ben, I have a question. I'm planning a Peacock 125 with a sump. Do you have any tips? And the only thing I don't understand about sumps is how you do water changes and how much water to add back. Well, I have a playlist that is on sumps, and you should watch the most recent videos, the most recent maybe 4 or 5 videos. I talk about that. And sumps are intimidating if you don't understand them, but once you understand them, they're very easy. I got a lot of help when I was setting mine up, in particular from Dennis Rudell, one of our moderators here, Denny. And just realize that you're working with this extra amount of water that is in the sump, and that is helping, of course, to dilute the tank. And it's just, imagine like you took a giant hang-on back filter and you took it off the back of the aquarium and you put it down under the aquarium, and water is falling into it and it's being pumped back. Now, what I do is I do water changes right out of the tank. I don't do them out of the sump unless I want to vacuum the sump. Sometimes you want to vacuum the sump because you get a mulm, just a buildup on the bottom of it. So you want to vacuum it sometimes. But I just take water out of the tank and goes right in the sink. And then I fill directly to the tank. Now I fill the tank until the sump, in other words, you fill the tank until the sump gets to the level that you want it to be at. Then you turn the pump on and that level will go down. And after a while, you'll realize what that water line is. If you overfill the tank, you might flood, you might overfill your sump when the pump goes off. So the pump is off, the tank is filling up, the water level in the sump goes up to a certain point. Some people put a piece of tape, like, okay, this is how high it needs to go. Then you turn the pump on and that water level in the sump goes down and your tank tops off. And that's the amount of water, the difference between where you fill the sump to and where it drops down to after you turn the pump on. That's that extra bit of water that's going to be moving around from tank to sump, tank to sump. The sump will evaporate from time to time. You have to top it off. If you use socks, you do have to change the socks out every 3 or 4 days. Socks are probably the best pre-filter imaginable. The socks I pull off my sump are disgusting, and I can only imagine what those sponges would look like if I didn't have socks, and that's why I'm kind of leaning again in the direction of putting a sock on the sump under the 300, a big 7-inch sock that I can put both the primary and the secondary drains into that big 7-inch sock, and that way I only have one sock to swap out, once a week. But I hope that answers your question. Watch some of the videos in the Sump playlist. It's once you get the hang of it and realize that you're dealing with this amount of water that is, up to the point in the sump, and then you turn your pump on and then that drops. That's the amount of water that you're kind of moving around. Once you get a feel for what that level is and you can mark it off with little bits of tape, it becomes easy. And then your pump goes off and your sump does not flood because you have everything dialed in correctly. Now, be sure to put one-way valves on the return so that they shut down when the pump is off, so that water doesn't keep draining into the sump. And you should be okay. You'll never have a flood unless you make a mistake. And I think one of the videos is called "Don't Fear the Flood" or something like that. Anyway, I hope that helped, and I hope it didn't bore everybody on today's live stream that isn't involved in sumps. So let's keep looking here. And thank you to everybody who's saying Happy Father's Day. That is tomorrow. We're planning a dinner. And my son-in-law, of course, I have a new granddaughter, so it's going to be my son-in-law's first Father's Day. So it's kind of a special dinner, but they have a little bit of a flu going on in their house. So we're not sure if we're going to get together or not. I definitely don't want to get sick before a trip. Do you think I have too much water flow with 2 hang-on back? This is FJCRZRTNDRA08. I'm just going to call you FJ, okay? Do you think I have too much water flow with 2 HOB Marineland 75-gallon filters and a Fluval FX4 as well? That question has so many things that you have to ask before you can answer with any degree of certainty, and you still might be off. How many fish do you have in the tank? How often do you do a water change? How often do you service those filters? If you have a very heavily stocked African cichlid tank and you're feeding them heavily, you're feeding them 2-3 times a day. Every now and then you're throwing in some krill. You're throwing in, that's good filtration. That's good amount of filtration. You're good. If you've got one flower horn in there, you're over the top. You're wasting electricity. You've got unnecessary water turnover. So it really depends on how stocked you are. But if you're going to err, my viewpoint, if you're going to err in your filtration, err in the direction of too much, not in the direction of not enough. So good thing about that is you have room for growth. And by that, what I mean is you can bring in another 4 to 6 fish and not worry that you're going to have to add filtration. You're fine. This tank behind me here, I have 2 internal filters. If you can see it, I don't know if I can reach over here. The camera's a little bit away today, but that little 55 back there has got 2 internal filters turning over about 400 gallons an hour, apparently is the rating on it. And all I have in there is a little baby green tear. So that's way over the top, way over the top. But I'm thinking I'm going to throw some fire mouths in there, and maybe an albino Oscar, and maybe, some more. So I'm ready. It's ready for more fish. Grossly over filtered, but ready for more fish. Those Expertmatic internal filters are great, but and they're a lot less expensive than the Shisei's, but they're 5 times the watt consumption. So over time, they probably end up being more expensive. And if you had to plug a bunch of them into a power backup, they would consume the unit. They would consume the battery backup much faster than the Shisei's would. That being said, I've gotten some good use out of those Expertmatics. All right, more questions. Let's see here. I'm cruising for questions. Eduardo in the house. All right, if you have a question, go ahead and post it now, and I will give it a shot. I can't say I can answer everything, but I'll give it a shot. Mars FPV drones. Man, there's some wild names in today's live stream. Mars. All right, I'm just going to call you Mars. Just started a 4-foot by 14 inch by 20 inch high after 23 years ago being in Dahomey. Electric albino yellow. What? Shardy and some 66, 22s, and 397 plecos. Wow, those are really nice. Getting along well for now. Will the Burchardi trying to eat those plecos? How big do those plecos? Those plecos don't get enormous, right? Those are plecos that stay maybe average, maybe. So I don't know. Are they ever going to be able to fit in that guy's mouth? I hope not. But very, very cool. That's a cool setup you've got there. Some very exotic looking stuff. All right. Well, Joe, I was thinking about I've heard some good things about. Joe was asking about the AC unit. I'm thinking about the Mitsubishi unit that hangs on the wall. I've heard some really good things about that, but I think that's only cooling. Heating this room, I've been using that. I have that floor unit heater. It's about 1,000 watts, but it does a pretty good job. And I think it's called Dr. I've got it somewhere around here, but it's buried. It's Dr. something, Dr. Heater or something. It's a small rolling box that puts out a tremendous, it's got like a quartz unit in it, and it does 1,000 watts, and it seems to do okay on the heat, but cooling would be more of a priority. And I've got to really make the determination if the cost is going to be worth it, because keeping this door open is nice. It does the job, but aesthetically, it's not the best thing for the, my wife doesn't necessarily like this door open all the time, and I get it. I mean, she doesn't complain about it, but certainly a lot cheaper than a heating cooling unit. But we'll see. We'll see. Any suggestions you folks have, certainly email me. Email me at theben.o.cichlid@gmail.com or list them in the comments under the video. Comment under the video, because the comments in the chat, they just sort of drift off into space after the video. I mean, you can still see them, but you have to kind of watch the video to see the comments underneath are easier to get to. So maybe comment under the video if you have an idea. Mars wants to know what causes Cardinal and Neon Tetras to get some sort of white spot lump on their face. I have not seen that before. Unfortunately, the Cardinals and the Neons that I've picked up over the last 6 months, and I don't know why. Maybe I'm not keeping the tank warm enough, or maybe I'm not. I mean, the lemons, they thrived. The red Serpas, they thrived. But the Neon and Cardinals that I put in my community tank, they don't last. They just don't last. And I don't know if it's because it's bad stock. I don't know. I just don't know. But I haven't seen the white spot. If some of you have a comment on that, and it's not ick, it's not all over the body, it's just in the face, a white spot, I don't know. I don't know what that could be. All right, so let's see here. I'm scrolling quick. R. Baglio, glass top on tank with a 3-inch gap for the HOB filter. Fish are jumping out of the tank through the waterfall. I have heard this story so many times, and it happened to me in California. I had a beautiful peacock, gorgeous fish, and I'm not kidding you. There was probably a gap about this big in the back where I'd cut out a piece to run some cords, run the heater cord, and I think an internal filter were coming in through that cutout, and the fish jumped. The fish managed to find that one spot and jumped out. And I found him as, this multicolored potato chip on the floor. And anyway, it's amazing how they'll do that. They'll find the one spot in there. And I think on Thursday nights at KG Tropicals, I think Lisa talked about some of her discus jumping. And I don't know if they jumped out through a gap. They found a gap and they jumped out, or maybe she didn't have a lid on. I'm not really sure, but she had some jumping issues and lost a couple good-sized discus. And the price of discus these days is absolutely nuts. So it's like a $200 episode. So let's see here. Fishman Marcus, is it possible to filter 9 25-gallon tanks using a large sump? Well, you would be doing what is done like in the big box stores, like a lot of your Petcos and your PetSmarts. They have a giant tub of water somewhere in that rack. They have that in there, and everything goes through that filtration and pumps back to the tanks. The problem with that is cross-contamination. Just about every fish keeper out there, and I have had fish keepers make the comment, I've been keeping fish for 25, 30 years. I've never had an illness. I'm not sure I believe that, but it's on my list of comments that I don't entirely believe. But at some point, you're going to get something. Something is going to show up. Parasite, something. And all 25 tanks will probably end up with it. So if you were going to do that, I'd instead suggest that you go to Aquarium Co-op and look at the type of pump that they recommend. They have a very large air pump. They did a lot of research on it, and they found a very large, efficient air pump, and just run some PVC with some valves. Just drill it and put some little valves in, and just run air lines and just run independent sponge filters, and do your filtering that way. But with that many tanks, you're probably also going to want some automated water change system. So it's a great problem to have that many tanks. But I would be worried about cross-contamination. That'd be my concern on that. But yes, it can be done. It's done by every large fish store out there. Whip's World, I don't believe in overfiltration. FJ, I have 2 FX6s, 2 Marineland 350s, and an AquaClear 110 HOB plus 2 large Aquarium Co-op sponges in my 210. It's overkill, but I don't need to worry about filter failure. Well, and again, everybody has their comfort level, and that really is what's right. I mean, if you feel good with that, and your fish are healthy, they look good, they got good color, they're eating, they're active, then that's right for you. I mean, someone can make an argument and say, well, look, you're wasting electricity unnecessarily, you're overcomplicating things, you're increasing the amount of work you have to do because every one of those units have to be serviced. But if it gives you peace of mind, just remember this, and this is one thing that people fail to understand, and I'm not saying you don't understand this Whip's World. I'm pretty sure you do. But you're only going to get the amount of beneficial bacteria that your that your tank can produce. I mean, and that's driven by how you're feeding your fish, right? And their waste production. So if you have 10 filters, that beneficial bacteria will probably spread itself out over the decor, the substrate, and then in all of the, filtering units, right? You're going to have a very spread out beneficial bacteria, but it'll ultimately be what your feeding can support. So it's not like adding more filters is going to give you necessarily more beneficial bacteria. It will give you more spread out beneficial bacteria. So you'll have the advantage of, while I'm servicing one filter, the other 3 or 4 filters that are running are preventing the tank from going into any kind of shock or ammonia spike, because you have it so nicely spread out, keeping in mind that the decor and your substrate is probably housing most of it, and then the rest of it is being spread out through these filters. So you do have tremendous redundancy. Whip's World, you have tremendous redundancy, and you have the advantage that you'll never shock the tank if you pull out that big old co-op sponge and run it under tap water and then drop it back in. No one's going to be necessarily phased whatsoever, because you have so much backup. All right, so let's see what else you got going on here. Fish talk. Curtis bought some Congo Tetras from fish store, got told they would be great with the fish I have, and guess what? Within 24 hours, they had eaten 12 neon Tetras. Store won't take back, had to give away. Wow. And you explained to the store that you had little neon Tetras that would fit in the mouth of the Congos, and they went ahead and said it would be okay. What can you do? I mean, that's a tough one. That's a real tough one. It's good to know. I think of Congo Tetras. Oh, that's a peaceful fish. It's not a predator necessarily. But keep in mind, I mean, I think with just about any fish, I mean, look at brine shrimp. You drop brine shrimp in there. It's alive. It's moving. Neons go after it, right? Your Tetras go after it. Certainly your Congos, your zebras, your guppies, they'll all go after that little moving thing. So these fish will eat live things that are alive, and man, that's a tough one. That's a real tough one. They should give you some kind of a credit, but anyway, you would think today in the world of social media, where people get on and make a Yelp review or something, that these stores would work just a little bit harder at making sure that the customer is happy. Sean, white spot lumps can happen on any fish. I had that happen on some of the fish in this tank. Not some of the fish. I think the red shoulder severum had a white spot on one of his fins. I was like, well, do I worry? And then within a couple of days, it was cleared up. It's almost like humans. We get blemishes and little things that show up, and then they go away. Ideally, they go away. You just keep the water clean, right? I mean, keep their conditions as pristine as you can, and they heal. These things do become aggravated and run away if the tank conditions are allowed to slip, and there's a lot of, let's say, waste and poop, under the decor, the rocks tucked in the back corners, and that can serve as a home for bacteria to start to grow and all kinds of stuff. I heard one time that Colomaris might be using fish waste that is in pockets in the tank. And when I vacuum, and I don't vacuum that often, I try and use my power heads and wave makers as tools to sweep the tank, so that stuff gets suspended and moved towards the filter intakes. But from time to time, I will go into the tanks and move decor, and under the decor, inevitably, there will be pockets of poop and mulm and waste, and that's a perfect place for bad stuff to grow that can then get up onto your fish. So just something to keep in mind. All right. Let's see here. Any more? Curtis, I explained I had neons. Yeah, the stores very often will just kind of lock you out. You come back and they go, and from the viewpoint of the store, let's look at it from the other side of it. From the viewpoint of the store, a person comes in and says, your fish got eaten. Unfortunately, they've probably had so many people come in and give them some story. And they finally reach a point where they go, forget it. And here comes an honest person coming in and just saying something that happened. And because some dishonest people have tried to scam the store, they've put a stern policy in. Unfortunately, that can very often be the case, and you got fish that were consumed. There's no way you can provide them with the body. You can't show them, and so they're thinking, well, I don't know, this guy, who knows? Maybe he gave away the neons. He's trying to get some free neons. Who knows what's going on in their head that they're not going to tell you, and that is sort of the sad state of affairs that some businesses run off of. They run their policies based on the absolute worst possible person, right? Unfortunately. All right, let's see. Any more questions here? Chris G, that's true. That's very true. Crooked people ruin it for everybody. We're talking about seasoned tanks. It's like Google. I have a Google in here. Google, stop. Have you ever said something in front of your phone and had it actually talk to you? Anyway, I've had that happen in meetings and stuff. A phone will all of a sudden, well, I'm sorry, I can't find anything on that. All right. So let's see here. Our Baglio, 15 cichlids, why foggy eye on 1 or 2 only, comes and goes, weekly water changes. Man, foggy eye is just so frustrating. I've had it. I've had fish lose an eye. It just wouldn't go. All the other fish are fine. This one fish gets the foggy eye, and it just goes on and on and on. And you do water changes, you pull them out, you hit them with some API General Cure, in a quarantine hospital tank. It gets a little better. It almost seems like once it gets going in there, it's almost really impossible to clear up. Now, that being said, I have an Insignis in the 210 that was battling that, and it would get a little bit of a foggy, and I keep doing water changes. I keep that sump in good shape. The FX6 turns over, and so I think just a good, eventually he was able to kind of overcome it. But for a while there, I thought I had a gar many years ago, a Malawi gar, and it never went away. I couldn't get it to go away, and eventually he lost the eye, and then he would only turn left. He'd only make left-hand turns in the direction of the good eye, and so he would just kind of rotate left, and it's sad because they can then be attacked from that side by other aggressive fish, and they have, apart from feeling the vibration, they can't really see what's going on. So anyway, Let's see here. Hey, Chris G. Thank you, Chris, for that super chat. I don't know what your message was, but thank you so much. Zen Ginger used to bleach your filters. Those filters were clean. You know, I bleached the socks in the sump. They are washed in the washing. They're put in the washing machine, and they used to always be brown. They'd always be like a tea color. I'll show you. This is the way they used to look after I hand washed them. And I started washing them in the washing machine with bleach. And then after it's done washing, and I run another cycle with nothing, with just plain water, and they come out like this. I thank you, GP, for convincing me that it would be safe. I've been using it, and I've had no issues whatsoever doing it that way. The bleach more or less gases off, so it is safe. And also, you know, when you recharge Purigen, right, you use bleach. It after 24, 48 hours, it just sort of gases off. It's okay, but then you have it sit in water with conditioner for 24 hours before you use it. But you can see here how everybody's doing in the 210. They're a little hungry right now. This is that food combination I talked about in that little squeak on my mic here when I turn it. That food combination I talked about in that video that I posted yesterday. You can see it. Not sure if you can make it out. I have Icene Energetics. I have Cobalt Probiotic. I have Extreme Peewee and Extreme Big Fella. I have Extreme Flakes, and I feel like I'm missing one. Oh, and I have Sarah. I have Sarah Cichlid Food in here. And the fish just love it. They go crazy on it. They wipe it out in a matter of seconds. The only thing they love more is frozen krill. Frozen krill, they splash me. I get all wet, and they just lose control when I feed them frozen krill. So, any more questions? We're on the hour here, but I'll spend a little extra time with you because I'm not going to see you for 2 weeks. I'm going to be gone. I got to oil this thing. You hear that squeak? Does it come through on the mic? I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, so no live streams for 2 weeks, and then I will come back and we can spend some time together. R. Baglio, my Insignis is blind. Wow, that's too bad. I hate to hear that. Yeah, unfortunately, it makes him a little bit of a target. Let's see here, Vince, Oscar, future video suggestion, when and how to properly use and revive Purigen. I've looked around and have not found such a video. I'd be willing to do a video like that. I was once real lazy, and I had a video called How the Old Man Recharges Purigen. And it was just a joke video. I think it's just me throwing an old bag of Purigen in the trash. I think that was the video. Me just throwing Purigen in the trash. And How the Old Man Recharges Purigen, I think was the name of the video. At any rate, yeah, I wouldn't mind recharging some Purigen. I'll pick some up either from the shack or from the aquarium co-op. The aquarium co-op does help me out a lot. The Cichlid Shack is certainly the channel sponsor. The aquarium co-op, I would consider them a very good friend of the channel. They do help me out with and support me to some degree. Let's see. I put socks in the washing. Patrick Maloney, I put socks in the washing machine with bleach. I set the rinse cycle 3 times and then soaked them in a bucket with Prime. Yeah, you're doing a lot more than I am to make them safe. And yeah, I'm sure those things are perfectly safe when you're done. Let's see here. Frankie, when it would be great if Ben invites fish stores to go on live. I would like to do that. There are certain kinds of live stream platforms that allow you to have like guests. OBS, the platform that I use, does not allow guests. Isn't built with adding guests as a feature, but there are some out there like StreamYard. StreamYard, I think, has got their platform really worked out now. I tried it once and I wasn't happy with it, but that might have been more me than them, just not knowing really how to use it. But yeah, I'd like to do that and maybe reach out to fish stores, or maybe have you folks suggest your favorite fish store in your area, and then I could contact them and tell them that I'd like to do a simulcast with the owner, and maybe have them tell me a little bit about their store and maybe turn the camera to the store. And I think that'd be fun. Either that or I get a motorhome and I just start traveling and visiting stores, which I love doing. I love I mean, you know that. The video I have coming out, the next video, the upcoming video is Arizona local fish store walkthrough. You're going to like that one. You're going to like that one. That's Aquarium Arts is the name of the store. And I was just really impressed by the friendliness, by the selection of fish, and the prices. The prices are really good. That one place that I visited that was the size of a football field, right? Ocean Floor. That place was a lot of fun to go in, and they had some crazy fish. A lot of selection, a lot of stuff for sale. But the prices were crazy. Some of the prices were like 3 blue, like you could buy a blue Ochara. I think 3 of them, $140 for 3 blue Ochara. $140. Yeah, they were 3, 4 inch, maybe. I mean, the prices were just outrageous. Just outrageous. So anyway. Let's see here. Yeah, a lot of folks I'm hearing now in the chat, a lot of you have blind fish, and it happens. It happens. Once they get that fogginess, it's really hard to get it out, because the eye, think about it, that little eye sac, what a perfect place for bacteria to grow inside of that. It's like almost when a human gets an infection in the gut, it's really difficult because it's just a perfect environment for that to grow. Robert Wardell, my inbuilt light is stuck on a blue mode. Don't know if it's the remote or... Yeah, that would be frustrating. You want that white light on. I'd suggest contacting the manufacturer. Maybe they can help you out. Peas and Haps Forever. I have not heard of JBL Fish Food. I've heard of the JBL line, but I haven't heard of JBL Fish Food. Let's see here. Hey, Zen Ginger, how the old man recharges his Purigen. That was just sort of a joke video. I think I'm reading the directions and then I just kind of go, forget it. And I just, open up a box from Amazon and pull out some. But that being said, I did start recharging after that because you could get up to 8 times, I think, you can recharge. And that's a great value compared to Chemi Pure, where you just, 6 months, you throw it away. So you can get a lot of mileage out of that Purigen. All right. Oh, so yours is more like old age, GP. He's an old timer, and I noticed he was blind a few months ago. Yeah, the fish, it's funny. Fish get the same things that when they get old, right? They kind of go out of shape a little. They might get a little arch in their back. They lose some of their color. Their appetite might get a little limited, so their stomach can sink in a little bit. And I've had a lot of folks contact me sometimes, what's wrong with my fish? And we start talking about it some more, and that fish is just old. That fish is near the end of his life cycle, and he's getting, he probably has, arthritis and all kinds of other stuff that, probably some organ issues. Who knows? I mean, they get all that same kind of stuff, and blind. All right. All right, folks. Well, I'm going to miss you folks. I'm going to be gone for from the 24th to the 4th, and so no live streams for 2 weeks. I'm not going to, Chris G, I know all about old age. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir, my friend. So I'll be gone for a little while. I will miss you folks, but I promise I'll be back with some good content, and I'm looking forward to kind of being off the grid a little bit and just sort of refreshing, just getting some fresh ideas, and again referring back to KG Tropicals. Their topic the other night was, what do we talk about? We feel like we've talked about everything. I don't feel like I've talked about everything. I feel like it's always new to me. It's always fresh and new, and I can talk about the same topic 3 times over 2 years, and it'll be different because I've experienced different things. And so you can say, well, gee, Ben, you have 5 videos on how to service a canister. I go, yeah, but you'll notice that there are some similarities, but there are some differences because I've learned along the way. And so when someone wants advice and I refer them to a video, I always say, watch the most recent video on that subject because I'm always learning. It's like what I always say, always be learning, right? And the second you think you know it all, that's when you start getting stupid. And that's been my experience. The second I get comfortable and a little bit, I don't know how to describe it, overconfident maybe, that's usually right before something bad happens, right? So keep learning, and I'll keep putting out content, and I'm always listening to you also on content ideas, and I'll consider recharging some Purigen, and any other ideas that you have, let me know. Post them under the video if you're watching the replay. I thank you all for spending some of your Saturday with me. You are very appreciated. Thank you, Super Chatters. Thank you, moderators. Thank you, Patreon members, for that extra support. And with that being said, you folks take care, and I'll see you in 3 weeks. 2 Saturdays without a live stream, and then on the 3rd Saturday, as they say in the South, God willing and the creek don't rise, I will be back. So goodbye, my friends.